how do I separate therapy from coaching, which is a big question people ask, right? What's the difference? The difference with therapy is typically we're going back into the past. And we're assuming that there is some disorder, some dysfunction, and we're trying to resolve that by going back.
Okay.
In coaching, we're typically looking at you as a whole individual, and we're helping you to move forward.
Holding me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Release the Chains podcast, where we have real, raw, and revolutionary discussions helping people like you release your mental, emotional, financial, and generational chains. I am so excited to be here with Mrs. Natolie Warren. I'm going to read her bio, and then we're going to learn a lot more about her. Natolie has the privilege of empowering spiritually rooted, mission-driven, ambitious women leaders and entrepreneurs, helping them overcome their biggest unconscious blocks so they can have a more soul-led, I love that, we're going to talk about that, a more soul-led, joyous, and fulfilling life and thrive in business. She specializes in helping women identify, refine, and accomplish their dreams by combining her unique skills as a spiritual leader, business maven, coach, and healer. She guides women to understand let me say this again because this is very important. She guides women to stand courageously in their authentic truth, clearly fulfill their life purpose, and confidently live in the unique design God has created for their life. I love that. And I also didn't mention that you are also a therapist. Is that correct? Yes. My stomach is growling. I hope y'all don't pick that up. But thank you so much for joining me, Natolie. I'm so excited to have you here. So tell me your story. What got you in this whole space of wanting to help women tap into their soul-led purpose? That's good.
Oh gosh, where do we start?
I know, right?
Thank you for having me. It started at 15.
Oh, okay.
I remember at 15, I got a vision that I will be working in helping and supporting women.
Okay.
But at the time, I had just come through some years of teasing. So my own journey of going through being teased from second grade to sixth grade by different people for different reasons.
Okay.
And I moved through understanding that I moved into adulthood, and then I realized I needed to work more on myself because there were some things that were left behind, some messages that I believed that I wasn't good enough, smart enough, talented enough, pretty enough. I know someone understands all of that.
Yeah.
So I thought I was really helping other people, and then I realized this was a journey for me. And I got to share my journey with everyone else.
Wow.
And it just became this thing that kept unfolding over the years. So my journey started very young.
So what did you learn through that process?
I learned a lot. I learned a lot about who I was. There were so many messages that weren't me that I picked up from what people had said about me.
Chains.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime someone picks on you or calls you out for you being who you are, it does something to the core of who you are. And I had to learn that. And so learning about who I was, learning about why I was here, learning about who my true identity is or what my true identity is and my value and what it was based on, everything that it wasn't based on, it really led me on, like I said, understanding more about all of those things and who I was and then how I could then help others.
So that's pretty much about your purpose.
Absolutely.
And so was there like an aha moment, because a lot of so many people are on a journey of really trying, and I'm this, but they're really on a journey of really trying to figure out what their purpose is. And so many people have so many different, ideologies about that, right?
Absolutely.
So was there an aha moment, or did it just kind of gradually happen and you were like, oh my God, I'm walking, living, and breathing in my purpose? What was that like for you?
I would say it was gradual.
Okay.
I think sometimes we think it hits you, and some people may have that. But it was gradual. Me seeing actually I say gradual in the sense of it was always happening. Like I was that kid in school that they came to, everybody came to. In middle school, high school, I was listening. They were asking me questions. Now, I can't say I knew everything at that time. So I knew I had something there, but it just kept unfolding and unfolding. And it's still unfolding. I think that's a misconception too, that people think I know the purpose and I'm moving in it, but we're always growing and evolving.
That's so good. We're going to talk about that a little bit later about personal development and continuously to develop ourselves, because it is always unfolding. So what do you think was the hardest obstacle for you during that process of evolving into your purpose?
Big one was the mindset stuff. Me getting over a lot of the fears and the inner voices that we're going to probably go into more, and understanding what they were meant to do for me and what they weren't meant to do.
So what were they meant to do? So these inner voices, right? So the inner voices are the voices we hear. Sometimes they're stories, I believe, like stories we tell ourselves, like if going back to your story where you were being teased a lot. So maybe you picked up, you start to believe those things, right?
Absolutely.
So when you say mindset, you had to what were some of the processes or steps that you took to kind of, elevate your mindset?
It was a process. Another process.
Everything's a process.
It was a process.
All a process.
Because people will sometimes think, it was magical. It was not. It was me really learning about myself, learning about the stories. Like, what were the stories that I was telling myself? How did I get to the point where I was thinking I wasn't good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, talented enough? And Ari, the truth was, it didn't look like that on the outside. I excelled.
Oh, yeah.
I excelled in everything. I won prom queen, homecoming queen by the same people who were teasing me, right? So it was a process of me realizing that those things didn't define me either. Like I had to go through that process. But really being able to sit with the truth and what is the truth for me and how do I embrace that in my own life. And I started to do that. And that was kind of the turning point for me, where I realized I am good enough and I am smart enough and I am talented enough. And it doesn't take away from anyone else, because that's who I am and who I was created to be.
That is so awesome. And so I know that, and you say, a lot of people go through this whole mental thing. And I think a lot of women that I just see in general, whether I'm reading social media posts, reading articles, or even working with women in the work that I do, I realize that they don't realize how much power they have within them. Can you touch on that for a moment? Like even like with your therapy training and your life coaching training, your personal development training, how can a woman begin to really tap into that power within?
Yes, good question. I think she has to first know that it's there.
But what if she doesn't, though?
And a lot of people don't know. They don't know. So I think it started with knowing my birthrights.
Okay.
Like knowing that I have a birthright of wholeness. I have a birthright of worthiness. I have a birthright of abundance and joy. Like it was something that not just I needed to obtain, it was something that was already within me. And I had to
knowing
activate
that it's there.
Yes.
Ooh, go ahead, activate it.
And I had to activate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to activate it. So it wasn't just that I knew it was there. Now I got to do something with it. So if I know that I am whole, what does that look like? How do I show up in the world? How do I act? How do I respond? It was then kind of activating that and then feeding that part of us. I think that's another way to help it to grow. I had to feed it through self-help books, podcasts, me going to events, studying more about it. And that's the big changer for me. When I learned about the inner critic, that was a game changer.
So what changed? Like specifically, you get what I'm saying? Like, how did you notice there's a change? Because I have a book, my very first book called Release the Chains. And, I take people to these series of, processes of releasing chain. And some of them have these light bulb moments. And then again, we talk about this gradual, but how do you know that you're becoming a higher version of yourself or becoming whole? Is there like something that or what was it for you, or even just for the women that you work with in that space?
Well, I think it's how you start to feel. Like
that's good.
You feel confident.
That's true.
As I did some work to clear out some of those stories, I did this very powerful technique. My energy was there. Like I never felt that confident, that alive, that energetic. you'll feel it. You'll know that because it feels so different than you have felt before. And so that's one of the ways that it's an awareness for that individual.
And I know you talked about too, and just me doing my research on, because I always research everybody that comes, right? You talk about being misaligned on the inside. What does that mean?
Yes, good question. I think when we're misaligned, it's in one of 4 areas. If we're misaligned with our truth.
Okay.
So say, for instance, you really don't want something, but you do it anyway. Because
I think a lot of women go through that.
Absolutely. We do it a lot.
Too.
We do it a lot.
Yeah.
We do it a lot.
Yeah.
Or you're misaligned with your purpose. So you know that your purpose is to help and serve children, but you're not doing it. And that doesn't mean that has to be your job. It doesn't have to be your business, but you're doing something in that area. Or you're misaligned with your vision. Right? You can be misaligned, not really walking in it or accepting it or embracing it. Or just your spirituality, about the essence of who you really are. And walking into your true calling or your true purpose.
And so what do you think that does to a woman when she is misaligned? Because I'm pretty sure whoever watching this on YouTube or listening to us are like, wow, hold on. You know, how can she identify if that's within her?
Ooh, good question. I love that. She probably will say she's unsatisfied.
Okay.
She probably feels sometimes this happiness is there, but it's just that satisfaction. It's like after you eat and you realize, I just want something to kind of do that. Or she's depressed. She's depressed. For some, they feel spiritually dead, especially if they're not really moving into that thing. They are alive, but they don't feel fully alive. Some are overwhelmed, anxious. Stress. It shows up in those emotions.
Wow, that's pretty deep. That's really good. So what can she do? Right? Because I love solutions, right? Yes. Because we can talk about everything. We can break all the chains in here today. But at the end of the day, what's the solution for her? What would you say would be maybe the first step? Let's start there, that she would need to take to become aligned, to release those chains, to tap into her purpose. What would you say the first step would be for her? I know there's many steps, and everybody's steps are different, but just in general, what do you think?
I think she has to do some self-reflection.
Okay, that's good.
Assess, where am I right now?
Now, can she always do that by herself?
She may not.
She may need some help. Because I know for me, when I went through my journey of releasing and detaching, from some stories that I kept telling myself, right? I needed some help. It wasn't something, I know women, we independent, we could do it all by ourselves, but we need support, right? And then some of us may not too. But you're saying the first step is to do some self-reflection. And what does that look like?
Asking questions. Why do I believe this? Where did this come from? Do I want to continue this? Is there something else that I want that I don't have? Like really asking those questions that sometimes we're afraid to ask because the truth is maybe we know the answer.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people in the healing space call that shadow work.
Absolutely.
Right? You familiar with that term?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I just got familiar with the term. I've heard, I see it and I hear it, but then I actually spoke to a spiritual life coach about it. And I was like, oh, so it's like doing the work on the stuff you don't necessarily want to deal with. Absolutely. And that's not always easy, but I think it's so necessary because we free ourselves from the misalignment, which is such a great word, because when you look at it where you're not in alignment with your real self, and I know that that's not always a great feeling, and I love that you shared how we can identify what that is. So thank you for the steps. I really, really appreciate that. So in your work, was there something else, like as an adult, do you feel like, let me just share this with you. Okay. So there's 7 steps, really processes, right, to releasing the chains, right? So for a woman who is in this space where she's really trying to dive into her purpose life, maybe she's in a career that she doesn't love, or maybe a relationship that she's not really all that happy with. So the 7 steps, number 1 is listening. The first step is listening. The second step will be peeling. Okay. Third step will be detaching. Fourth step or process is forgiving. Okay. And then the 5th one is trusting. And then healing and evolving. Wow. So for the woman who is at that space where she is, trying to figure out who she is or what she should be doing or what she is, where do you think she needs to kind of put her focus on the most?
Wow, based off of those 7?
Of those 7 steps.
I remember forgiving.
Yeah, they're on the board. Listening, listening, peeling, detaching.
I like peeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's got to start to make some changes and ask herself, what am I willing to let go of?
Yeah.
And that goes into detaching.
Yeah.
Gotta detach from so many things that for some of us, we've known most of our lives.
Yeah, because when you get attached to something, it kind of keeps you safe. You feel safe. You feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
But when you detach, you got to get uncomfortable. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
No more chains holding me.
Why settle for a job that feels like a chore? Every day, Grants Consulting Group hears from career professionals who struggle to interact with their coworkers, feel uncomfortable and cannot be their authentic selves in the workplace, cannot find career opportunities they actually enjoy, are unable to communicate their value and negotiate their pay. Many of these individuals often settle, jumping at the first opportunity because they think they cannot discover other possibilities. That cannot be a good feeling. With over 25 years of experience in business and HR, Andrea Grant helps you go from feeling like a mess to finding success. If you're ready to transform your frustration to fulfillment, visit grantsconsultinggroup.com to learn why 100% of their clients have referred their services and how they can help professionals like yourself find the career of your dreams while still staying authentic to yourself. For a limited time, Andrea is offering a complimentary career breakthrough session to help you identify and address the obstacle you are experiencing while building a meaningful career. Visit grantsconsultinggroup.com to schedule your session today.
No more chains holding me.
All right, so you just mentioned something about the inner critic, and I love that term.
Yes.
I actually wrote about the inner critic and the inner cheerleader in my book, All I See Is Possibility, which I have my All I See Is Possibility shirt on today, because that is literally all I see. I have a very positive outlook on life. However, that doesn't mean that the inner critic doesn't come and rear her ugly little head in. So what I said in my book was we all have a nasty inner critic who not only attacks us, but also attacks others.
Wow.
The inner critic judges, blames, compares, and criticizes, whereas the inner cheerleader just loves.
Wow.
It gives love unconditionally and freely, and this type of love does not need to be earned. So I know you help people a lot when it comes to that whole thing with the inner critic. Can you share your definition of the inner critic and then how that prevents us from showing up authentically?
Absolutely.
Because that's a big thing.
It is. And everybody has one. So
everybody has one.
Everybody has one. Mm-hmm. But it's that part of your personality that judges you, calls you names, and puts you down. And most people are trying to find her. And I personify it. I talk a lot about personifying because it really helps you to detach from it.
Yeah.
But you really want to find it. You look at where am I putting the most pressure, the incredible pressure on myself, or where am I beating myself up at? If you follow that trail, you'll find her. You'll find her.
When you find her, what you do with her? Do you kick her butt? Do you knock her down? Do you embrace her and give her a hug? Like what you do?
Yes. Most people think we try to just expel her and get rid of her. But I think she has purpose. And you've got to know that she has a purpose. So you really embrace her, love on her, because a part of whatever happened in your life, there was something that happened in each of our lives that impacted us. And we had some negative emotions, whether it was fear, guilt, shame, embarrassment. And so she's trying to protect you from that stuff. But I like to understand once you get to a relationship with her, you can tell her, thank you, but no thank you. I got this. I got this. I can take care of it. You don't have to protect me like that anymore. And I thought that was the power that I was like, this is the stuff. But you really build a relationship with her. And that helps you to have compassion for her. And then you can give her a new job. So you're not getting rid of her. She's going to stay on your team.
Yeah. Okay.
But now
get rid of her, though.
You give her a new.
I'm like, oh, please. But I like that you said that she has purpose.
She has purpose.
That's a good way to look at at it, because she can make you stronger. Because when you listen to, and I'm saying her because I'm talking about my inner critic. She's definitely a her. But I love when you said, I forgot what I was going to say. What did you just say about embracing her and knowing that she's going to be there and she's serving her purpose? That's good.
Yes.
Because I just want her to go on somewhere and get on with
We
herself.
all do, because let's tell the truth. She's not always kind.
She's not. Yeah.
She oftentimes is either punishing us, motivating us, or persuading us.
Yeah, and hindering us too.
All of that. And so she has, sometimes that tone can be very persuasive. Like, do you really want to do that?
Yeah.
And that persuasive tone, or it can be very harsh. Like, what are you doing? Are you stupid or something? So we don't always want that around us, but she really does serve a purpose. And I just think it's the uniqueness of the mind that we would be able to have that inner critic to protect us from those harmful things that we all don't want to feel.
So what have your personal relationships taught you personally about your inner critic?
And my inner critic, I encourage people to name it, you personify it. So mine is never good enough.
Okay.
And I know when never good enough shows up. She has a different message each time. But I know when she shows up, and it really is those moments where I know this is probably a direction I need to go in.
Okay, that's good. That's when the inner cheerleader comes in. Oh, that's good. Now mine, I need to give her a name, but I know she comes in the 7-step process of release of change and trusting. I'm very non-trusting. I don't know if it's like not. No, it is trusting. And it's not trusting myself. It's mainly trusting other people. But I think that's an inner critic that's telling me, reminding me of a story that I need to detach myself from. Absolutely. Why I'm not very trusting of people in certain situations. So how would you help me through that process? Right? I'm sure I'm not the only one, right?
No.
of not trusting, because when I think it could help, I know for me, it has held me back from probably some authentic relationship, but I've been hurt so much from personal relationships, friendships with women that have hurt me, became jealous. I hate to say that, or our relationships evolved into different seasons, which is okay. But still, there was still some meanness there that really had an effect on me now not trusting. So my inner critic always comes in and be like, nope, don't give it a time of day. Don't go, don't do it. So what advice would you have, to help a client, me, through that situation?
No, it's a great question, and it's real, right?
It is very
it's
real.
a real question.
Very, very real.
One of the challenges with the inner critic is, and this is the part of the mind as well, is it always wants to look for evidence to support a belief. And so I would be challenging you to look at what evidence do you have that doesn't support that.
Okay. Oh, that's
what
great.
Relationships are trusting.
Yeah.
Where have you made that decision? You were able to trust yourself and make a decision to connect yourself with someone that was good.
That's good.
So then you're able to see the evidence that doesn't support it, because she's going to always look for the evidence, right? She has this magnifying glass looking for it.
So true.
Looking for it. And then you might be able to entertain a different possibility. Like, you know what? Well, I did have this and this was positive. And being able to tell yourself, if it did end that way, how would I handle it? And if I've handled it before, I can do it again. And that kind of also helps to quiet her, so she doesn't speak so loudly.
That is so good. So I know that you are also a therapist. You have your own practice. So in your practice of therapy, is there a particular type of specialize or focus that you deal with? And then my next question is, how do you separate the two from the therapy and working with women with their inner critic and stepping into their power?
Okay, good
so
question.
First, tell us about your business.
Yes. So I do a lot with our behavioral systems, how we behave, how we think, how we feel, but do also some inner family systems, which is a part of this personality stuff. Like we all have multiple personalities, and these are, yes, we all do. We all do. The inner critic is just multiple parts of your personality. are different parts of your personality, and she has functions just like all the other parts of our personalities. For an example, you might say, a part of me doesn't want to do this, because there is truly a part of you that doesn't want to. So that's a part of that, and really helping them to understand how all of these can be integrated.
Okay.
And that's the whole idea with the inner critic. Integrating her into your life, figuring out how she can help you reparent her, redirect her. I think of her like a 5-year-old in kindergarten class. And, you know, Johnny's all over the place. But if you give Johnny a job, you say, Johnny, I want you to be the line leader today. Johnny now has focus. Yeah. He's able to execute, and everybody's good, right? So it's that same kind of thing. Your other question was around how do I separate the two? How do I separate therapy from coaching, which is a big question people ask, right? What's the difference? The difference with therapy is typically we're going back into the past. And we're assuming that there is some disorder, some dysfunction, and we're trying to resolve that by going back. Okay. In coaching, we're typically looking at you as a whole individual, and we're helping you to move forward.
It's so awesome. I never thought about it, looked at it like that. So when you're working with a client, do you find that, like, let's say she came to you to help her in her interpersonal life, you know, to tap into her power so she can walk authentically in her purpose? And do you find that, oh, wait a minute, she may need some therapy, or vice versa? And how do you deal with that?
Yes, it depends. So if I notice that she's getting stuck and it's beyond her control, or she's tried a lot of things, or I know that there's trauma in her past, then I'm likely going to say, let's go with counseling. Okay. The good news is I can do a little bit of the same thing.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's the beauty. That's what I love about you, like that. And you know how to separate the two, too, which is so important. But a lot of times, for me, and I think other people can relate to this, they don't know if they need a life coach or if they need therapy. So for me, the route I went first was life coaching, and the very same work that you do. My life coach spoke just everything about the inner critic, just in a different way. And I love the way you talk about it, is embrace her. Oh, that's so good. Because I want to get rid of her. And so a lot of people don't know are there ways to kind of identify? And then later on, I did therapy. Is there any way to kind of identify which route you should go first?
Good question. Sometimes it can be a gray line. It can be a gray line. If though we know that there's a mental health diagnosis, then we definitely want to go towards therapy. But people often don't know that. That's true. You might have to do some research. You might have to talk to a professional on either side and let them make an assessment based off of what you share.
That's good.
But they can. And sometimes I'll see that you can just really use coaching and you'll do fine. So yeah.
That's good. I like that. And for me, it's like my therapist, I just needed somebody to just dump all my stuff on, because my husband is my best friend. He's my everything. Like, you know how our husband, you're married. So, you know, I'm pretty sure you come in and tell your husband your whole day pretty much, you know, or everything that's going on within you, or it just and so I felt like I was dumping too much on him, and I needed a therapist to kind of relinquish all this stuff. But then I found out so much more about myself in therapy, which was amazing.
No more chains holding me.
Hi, I'm Coach Ari Squires, and I'm here to talk to you today briefly about creating marketing magic, right? I believe in magic, and especially believe in marketing magic. As a business coach, a brand manager, I help my clients increase their brand awareness and increase their profits through strategic business coaching and brand management. So I manage brands and I help them, build their equity, get booked for speaking engagements and all kinds, sell their courses and all these different things that a lot of people just don't have the time to do. So marketing magic is like crucial, and so there's so many different ways to create this magic. It's all about client attraction and saying the right things and positioning yourself in the right places and doing all the right things online and offline. But a part of creating marketing magic is really making sure that your brand...
Wait, stop. I'm not going to give it to you all right here, but you can get your top 10 marketing mistakes and how to create marketing magic. And I'm going to throw in a bonus brand checklist, all for free. All you have to do is text brand to 202-410-0438. Go ahead and get your free brand equity building products today.
No more chains holding me.
All right, you guys, make sure that you like, subscribe, and put on your post notifications so you can know when every time we are posting a new podcast. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. So listen, I know you also in the work that you do, helping people with the inner critic and their personal development and becoming better versions of themselves authentically, which is so important. You also help women with their business too and tapping into their purpose. And a lot of times our purpose leads us to entrepreneurship, right? So what is the value in that for a woman that you've seen in the work that you like? Maybe what's a good testimony that you have for a woman you work with and she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Thank you. And then she created something that was bringing additional income for her. You have a story to share about that?
Well, the ones that I have started to work with, they've already had a business.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay, awesome.
yeah,
So were you able to help them maybe expand in that? Or
Absolutely. And really helping them to grow into the woman they needed to be in order to grow that business.
Let's talk about that, please, because that's the whole reason why I started this Release the Chains. Because again, I know you guys have, if you've been listening and following this podcast, you've heard me talk about how I can give women, men too, some strategy, and they have a great, amazing talent and a great gift, and they have everything they need, but sometimes they don't move. So you're saying that the work that you do helps her show up better in her business. Absolutely. Let's talk about that, please. Please expound on that and what that means.
Yes, because as we know, the inner critic, our fears, our insecurities, when you're in entrepreneurship, that stuff gets cranked up really loud. It gets so really loud. Yeah. And that can really impact every area of her business. Her ability to be visible and show up. Her ability to do pricing, her ability to really close the sale, like all of that is really going to be tied to her and how she sees herself and how she really wants to be. And then for those who really want to take their business, like really scale and grow, all of those other fears of mom guilt that comes up.
Yes.
You know?
Oh gosh.
Will I be able to handle this?
We need to have a whole discussion about mommy guilt.
Yeah. Like
that's
all
serious.
of those things that start to show up and her really just stepping into the woman that she really is. And so that is the work around her really embracing that and understanding that and really being aware that she has control over it. Like, this is your business. You have control over what you want it to look like at any point, and that sometimes helps to quiet that voice, that fear.
And I know too that a lot of entrepreneurs, and this is male, female, it does not matter, feel like we got to get the strategy, we got to know how to make the money, we got to know how to release the ebook, launch the funnels, and get all this technical stuff, which is important, right? But at the end of the day, I think, for me, this is why I'm so big on personal development. I know we're both fans of Tony Robbins, and I want to ask you something about him in a moment. I feel that the personal development stuff is more important than that stuff. I really do. So. And it's continuous. Absolutely. Why is it continuous? Why do we have to keep going? Because sometimes I'm like, I already done the work on myself. Why is it continuous for us as entrepreneurs?
Oh, good question. We're always evolving and changing, right? You know how with technology, it's almost like if you don't keep up, you're going to get left behind.
There you go. Oh my God.
It's always changing and evolving.
Yes.
But then there's times where you're ready for a new level of deeper development, right? You're just ready for it.
Yeah.
I have done a ton of work around certain things, but when I'm at another level or I'm going into another level of my business, I've got to do another upgrade in my mindset, in my fears, me understanding what I am or what I'm doing. All of those factors really play a part in why you have to continue personal development until you stop breathing. That is your exit right there of personal development. You're always growing and changing.
That was powerful. We're going to put that on the screen, okay? Because that was powerful. Until you stop breathing, you always want to invest in personal development. Now, I know you just recently invested in yourself. I know you're always invested in yourself. How much money would you say you invested in your personal development? Not your business, but your personal. Because people think that they don't have to pay for personal development. I'm like, no, it's way more important than the business stuff because you can get all the skills you want. You can have the best coach on the planet, but if that inner critic keeps showing up, that business is gonna stay stuck where it is.
It will, and you'll never meet your soul's purpose. And that's the whole premise of it.
So how much money have you invested? I'm all in your business.
Well, let's just talk about this year alone, right? This year alone. Wow,
I know it's a lot.
It's about $10,000 this year alone.
See?
But I do monthly subscriptions for books, so I have to add up that. I am
Yes.
constantly reading, listening to my audios. I
Yeah.
probably go
What
to
are
2
you
a
reading
week.
now?
Oh my goodness. What's the book I'm reading now? I'm doing a book on angels and spirit guides.
okay.
I enjoy
Cool.
that. But I also love It's Not Your Money.
Oh, I haven't read
So
that.
It's Not Your Money is really helping you. I thought it was a book on money and understanding the stories and all of that, but it got really deep. And I was like, oh, the stories, the trauma, all the beliefs I have around money. So I'm always elevating in that because that's a part of really stepping into your business. Yeah. If you have money fears and money trauma, your business won't grow to the level that it could grow. What else is in there? I have so many books. I know those are the two that pop in my head initially, but I do about 2 a week.
Now, as I was just going to say, Tony Robbins, shout out to Tony Robbins. He was the very first person back in 2003, I believe, where I read one of his books. I don't remember what it was. And it literally got me thinking about doing the inner work on myself and continuing to do that. What has been your biggest lesson from him? Because he's super powerful and he's really big and known in that space of personal development, right? He's kind of like the godfather, in my opinion. Right, in my opinion. I mean, there's so many others. There's Eckhart Tolle. There's so many others, but for me, Tony Robbins, it's just something. He was just, for me, just one of my first inspirations in that space. What has been your greatest lesson from him and taking his classes and doing his events and things like that?
Absolutely. The energy. I love that he teaches that you at any point can change your emotional state by changing your energy state and getting movement. His events are high energy.
Yes.
But that's the premise on what he builds. And because I participated in it, I know what it does for you. It can shift everything. And then he talks about gratitude, getting in that space of gratitude and how that's an energy shifter for so many people. Something simple, but so powerful.
Yeah, and that's super powerful too, because I think the more we are grateful for what we have, the more we receive, and that's just period. You know, that's just period. But people tend to always want more, or they feel like they're missing out on something. So speaking of missing out on something, what about that woman that you're working with or out there who feels like, oh gosh, I missed my shot. You just made a post about this. It's too late for me now. You know, she may feel like you said that she lost her confidence, she missed your chance, and she may have settled for less. What does she do?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to a lot of women.
It does, yeah.
But I really think it's important to realize that, in my opinion, you never miss it. Like, all of that was really leading and guiding you on the path that you are and the woman you've become. And so you can take those things and really say, okay, this is where I am now, and where am I going to go from here? Where am I going to go from here? And not spend so much time worried or consumed with what was gone or what's lost, but really taking the moment and maximizing it and really moving forward.
Now, what does she need to unlearn?
Ooh, one of the beliefs around it, I think she has beliefs that time is against her.
Oh, yeah.
So an affirmation that I really adopt is time is on my side.
Okay.
Time is on my side. You can complete so many things in a short amount of time. Like, who said it had to take 5 years? Who said it had to take 10 years?
Right.
It can happen quickly as you align yourself, as we started talking about. You get real clear and you really set yourself in an intention of, I'm here to serve. And what can I do to serve? What can I do to contribute more to the world? And in that, you'll have that sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because I know we're talking and we've done the work, you know? So it comes easier for us to talk about what you should do, what you got to do, and what the process looks like. But you also talk a lot about going inward. And so for that woman who she hasn't done the work yet, you know what I mean? Is there a process for her to begin the process of going inward?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm serious, like, because we can talk about it and it's easy for us to articulate it because we know what the benefits are of it. You get what I'm saying? But for that woman that's like just fresh in her journey and going inward, what does that look like for her? Like, where does she begin? Like, seriously, like, take yourself back.
And that's what I started to do. Like, what did that look like for me? Good question. A few things. I think I put myself around environments where I saw people doing more.
That's good.
Because sometimes it's hard to do something you haven't seen before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
And,
so-
that's why a lot of people don't do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting myself in an environment where I could see it. People who would see things in me that I couldn't see in myself. It may look like you're surrounding your community. What does that look like? But also then becoming a student of things, learning as much as you can. Finding time to meditate, pray, those things that are important to you to really learn how to quiet yourself. And for some people, that's scary. I'm going to tell you the truth. That's scary. It was the times that I realized I was afraid of getting quiet was because the voices, the noise got really loud. But I had to learn to sit with it step by step, day by day. And now I can go 45 minutes in silence. And it's amazing.
That's so
It's
good.
amazing.
That's so good.
But it's a process. So it may look like that woman saying, you know what, I'm just going to do 1 minute, Natalie. I'm going to start with 60 seconds.
Somewhere.
And make it small. Make it small. And then build upon it and build upon it. And before you know it, you'll be so much further back and you'll look back and go, how did I get
here?
But it was one step at a time.
One step at a time. And here's the thing too, because a lot of women become stuck in their chains because they're comparing themselves to other women, other moms, other people, other coworkers, other entrepreneurs, other whatever it is, right? And it irks me. And I just wish, and it only irks me because it happens to us in the Black community so much because we always have this, and if we're being honest, we have this mentality in our culture that we want to one up each other all the time. That's who we are. If we're being honest, right? And so women are always comparing themselves to people, and it keeps them so stuck in their growth. And I know it's not an easy process to not compare because do you feel that's a natural human characteristic that we have? And if it is, how do we overcome that as women collectively?
Wow. Good question. I will tell you, one of the inner critics' name is the comparison queen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that is an inner critic.
I know a lot of women that go through that.
It's really a thing. And what we end up doing is we either compare ourselves and make us feel better than someone or obviously feel less than. Right? But how do we change that? I did a judgment detox. Oh, it's a powerful exercise where you really write down the judgments about you have. And a lot of the times when we start comparing ourselves, it's because we're judging.
That's true.
We're either judging ourselves or we're judging the other person. And really a lot of those things we feel entitled to. Like I feel entitled to judge them. Like, why does she have her hair that way?
Right.
You know, we might do that.
Yeah.
But really start to question, why am I judging? And when we start to do that individually and collectively, we can challenge those judgments and realize it's our own fears, it's our own insecurities, it's our own stuff that we got to work on and get rid of. And so there's more work, right?
Yeah.
And someone's probably thinking, I got to do more work. Yes. If you really want to step into your true self and your higher self, and there's so many names for it, the work is necessary, but it's so rewarding. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't trade it. I love it.
Thank you for sharing that. Like, because that is... and us as Black women, I would love to see, and we had this discussion on one of our training calls one night about coming together and working together. And then someone mentioned, I don't know, Ari, I don't know if that's possible because you know good and well, women are comparing and competitive. But it's my hope and my dream that we release that chain and come together so we can build, because I see Black men doing it all the time. I see white men doing it all the time. I don't know if I see white women doing it all the time, because it could just be a woman thing, right? But us as Black women, oh my gosh, let's take all those steps and work on it and continue to work on it. So I've been asking you a lot of questions. We're going to wrap up. This has been totally amazing. Just everything that you've talked about. I've been asking you all these questions. Do you have any questions for me that you would like to ask? Anything?
Question.
I always like people's questions.
I know. I don't have a question, so I'm not going to make up one. I don't think I have a question.
Okay, all right, cool. So is there anything that you want to finalize and kind of just say to the woman or the viewers that are listening right now, just to give them some inspiration, some empowerment or motivation to just keep going?
Yes, and I was going to say, keep going.
Yeah.
No matter where you find yourself or see yourself, maybe you've heard some things and you're like, I'm on this end or that end. The first thing I was going to say is don't judge wherever you are. That's where you are right now. But it doesn't mean you have to stay there. Like, as long as you're willing, and it only takes slight willingness. If you just have slight willingness, you can really move through anything. Just say, I'm open to learning. I'm open to changing. I'm open to healing. And that really can move you forward.
I love that. Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate you for coming and joining me. What I always talk about is opportunity. So this particular episode, there has been a lot of places, an opportunity for you to take an opportunity to change your life. So I highly suggest that you reach out to Natalie Warren, look at what she has that can help you. Do the homework. Doing the homework is an opportunity. So please tap into yourself. This is something that I can actually guarantee, right? I can actually guarantee when you do the work consistently, you will release the change. So I thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I'll see you next time.
And every couple has like certain rules of like, okay, well, it's not going to be any emotional attachment in this relationship. For some people, it's like, we'll just have a physical thing on your birthday. Or, some people it's more like, it just depends on the agreement that the couple makes.
No more chains holding me.